What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Colin Brandon, and we are breaking down the Iowa-Gonzaga game on Saturday. That's what we're doing today. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm really sad that the Gonzaga-Baylor game got canceled. I know people are, I know that there's talk about rescheduling it, so I hope that happens. Anyways, let's get into it, okay? So we know that both these teams are really good. In my mind, I think Gonzaga is the clear-cut number one team in college basketball. And I'm not afraid to say it. I think Iowa's a little overrated. I think that they have looked really good against the opponents they've played, and they've been able to, destroy them. They've only played two Power 5 opponents, I believe, and one of them being UNC, who's good, but we're not really sure where they're at as a team just yet. They had good bigs. We saw Luka Garza struggle a little bit with that, but they eventually figured it out and just, ran UNC out. Only beat them by, 13? But the runs that Iowa was going on were convincing enough to let you know that Iowa was the better team that game. I'm not afraid to say it. Iowa is good. And when I say they're overrated, I just don't think that they're a top 3 team in the country. Top 10, top 15, yes, probably to both. Yes to 15, maybe to 10. I think that they might get exposed a little bit in conference play. And I'm not really just sitting out here bashing Iowa because I honestly, even though I'm a diehard Illinois fan, watching Iowa basketball is a lot of fun. So I make sure to catch every game because they shoot a bunch. And who does not, in this day and age in basketball, who doesn't like to just jack up shots? They almost always shoot more three-pointers than their opponent, and they have some good shot makers. They're not one of the best in percentage-wise. They're not. I don't even think they're in the top 10 percentage-wise in threes, but in volume, I think that they're darn near close to number one, at least for how many games they played. Anyways, let's talk about why I think Gonzaga is going to win this game. Gonzaga is my prediction. Vegas right now has them as the favorite. On ESPN's their BPI percentage chance to win, they have Iowa with a 60% chance to win, and I don't necessarily agree with that. This game's being played at the Sanford Pentagon at 11 a.m. Central Time on Saturday. Not sure which channel yet, but make sure to check your local listings because that game is you don't want to miss it. So let's get into it, okay? So both these teams are great basketball teams. Both of them are really good at offense. I would give the offensive side of things to Iowa. Which team is better offensively? It's going to be Iowa, but Gonzaga is not far behind. I think literally Ken Pom has them 1 and 2 offensively. Big discrepancies when it comes to defense. Gonzaga is a top 15 team defensively, and I think Iowa is down toward the 70s. So I think that's going to play a big part of it. What we saw in that UNC, I'm going to refer to the North Carolina-Iowa game a bunch because that is the only real team that they have played. I mean, Iowa State, yeah, but I wish my Northern Illinois Huskies, I wish I could say that they're a real team that Iowa's played, but they're not. So we're going to go based off of what happened in that North Carolina game. In that North Carolina game, we saw Iowa immediately go out there and in a boxing match, they just started landing some haymakers early, hitting a couple early threes. And when Iowa can get out into the transition and start playing their style and getting up quick shots, they can put up a lot of points fast. I equate it to how the LeBron James, D-Wade, Chris Bosh Heat were able to, literally in a split second, it seemed put up 15 to 20 points. This Iowa team is very similar in their volume to score. And North Carolina just wasn't able. They're not built to keep up with that. North Carolina has good bigs. We saw them give Luka Garza some trouble. I think I think Gonzaga can do that because they got some decent size too. Timmy's very good. North Carolina's guard play just isn't meant to go up and down all the time and be able to score in the transition at will. But Gonzaga's team is. Gonzaga is actually one of the few teams in college basketball that have a faster tempo than Iowa does. They're averaging about, I think, one more possession per game than Iowa is. Something like that. I might not get the stat exactly correct. All I do know is that the tempo is Gonzaga's tempo is faster. So if it turns into a track meet, they're not out of it by any means. It's going to be a great game either way. I think Gonzaga's ability to drive the basketball is going to, I think it's going to put some pressure on Luka Garza to defend that. And I think that he could get in foul trouble. We saw what happened in that UNC game. He got in foul trouble. It wasn't until the very end, but he got in foul trouble. And that was because UNC was taking stuff to the rim. And we saw a couple times where Luka Garza in the transition defense would get pinned up under the right about at the foul line, and would have no chance at a ball thrown over for an easy layup, from whether it was from Baycott or from Garrison Brooks or from Deron Sharp. He couldn't defend that. Luka Garza is not a great defender. Now, I think Iowa is a better defensive team than people give them credit for, and I know I've been really hard on them for how bad a defense they play. And it could just be masked with their ability to score. But Luka Garza, I think, got a little bit exposed in that UNC game. If you go back and watch the film, I think that shows why he might not be successful on the next level right away. If he fixes that and, becomes quick on his feet. But there were a lot of times where it looked as a guy was going to go try to score. A UNC guy was going to try to score, and Luka Garza kind of, played that old Olay defense, as they say in 2K, where he just kind of let him do it because he knew that he didn't have a chance of stopping him and wasn't even really going to try. Post defense, I'm worried about for Iowa because Drew Timme is going to be the best big man that this team has faced yet. Literally, if it wasn't for Luka Garza and maybe Derek Culver, I think Timme would probably be. I'll listen to any argument why that dude's the best big in college basketball if it wasn't for Luka Garza, for sure. We saw him. He played well against Derek Culver and Sheway. They played West Virginia. They played Kansas, and Kansas has okay bigs. But Culver still had 18 and 15. That's very good, and Sheway had 14 and 9. But both of them got into foul trouble. Sheway had 5 fouls. Culver had 4. And those guys are actually good defensive bigs. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Luka Garza. Is he going to be out of foul trouble because he doesn't really defend, or is he going to be in more foul trouble because he defends poorly? I could very easily see Drew Timme, putting up 30 points on Luka Garza just because of how slow Luka Garza is and how good Timme's post moves are. People forget that this dude was coached by, I think Jermaine O'Neal was his AAU coach, and Drew Timme's got some slippery post moves. The dude is nice when it comes to his footwork, his touch. I'm not gonna say he's a better all-around big than Luka Garza because Luka Garza is phenomenal. Luka Garza is a better shooter, but I think when it comes to post fundamentals, I think Drew Timme wins there. Gonna be really interesting to see what happens in that battle, and I think Drew Timme's athletic enough to chase him out to the 3-point line. I think what the game's gonna be won or lost on if Gonzaga can run Iowa shooters off the 3-point line. And I'm really talking about Frederick and Wieskamp. I'm not too worried about Bohannon. We haven't really seen him shoot at a high percentage yet. He shoots at a high volume, not at a high percentage. But, he can make shots, and you want to run him off the line, too. I'm not saying you're not. But, I'm saying that Wieskamp is probably the guy that you really want to run off, and Frederick's another guy that you don't want to leave with open shots. I think Nunji is going to be an X factor in this game. If he comes off the bench and just absolutely starts balling out, Gonzaga could be in trouble. But I think Gonzaga's got a lot of weapons too. I'm interested to see if Omar Ballo, he hasn't gotten a ton of time yet. I'm not even sure if I'm saying the name right. He's a 7-footer. He's bigger than Luka Garza. He's a thick boy. He's kind of similar build to Deron Sharp. And we saw Sharp give Garza a ton of problems in the first half. And if he can play any defense sort of like that, I think that Gonzaga is going to win that battle. Or, part of me thinks that, wonders if they're just going to let Luka Garza get his points and then focus on running everybody else off the 3-point line. I think that could be an okay strategy. But I think Timmy's good enough defensively to be able to, put up a fair fight there. I think that another thing is that this is going to be I think this is the first time that Iowa's not playing at home. We all know that the home court, it's easier to shoot when you're playing at home because that's where you shoot all the time. And this game's being played at the Sanford Pentagon. I don't think Gonzaga's played there either yet this year. And so that's going to kind of level the playing field, I think. Maybe a little bit. And I think Gonzaga is going to have more of an edge because I don't think that Iowa is going to be getting some of those shots to fall that they get falling at home. Iowa looks like an unreal shooting team. By percentage, they're not crazy. I think Illinois is a better percent, or they were before the last two games, were a better shooting percentage team than Iowa. But Iowa shoots it at a super high volume, and that's what makes them dangerous. Is that they're getting those extra possessions, like the turnovers, the runouts. They can start running away with it fast. But Gonzaga, like I said, the tempo, they can keep up with that. Gonzaga, I think right now, is close to leading the nation in 2-point field goal percentage. I think they're second, and the first team's like Alabama A&M or something like that. So Gonzaga is like the only team to actually have played real teams, and they're pretty high up there in 2-point field goal percentage. And that's Gonzaga's game this year. They're not a great 3-point shooting team. I mean, Kispert can shoot the three a little bit. Suggs can shoot the three a little bit, but other than those two guys, everybody else's percentage isn't that great. And I mean, Suggs' percentage is good at 33%, but like Joe Wieskamp's shooting 50% and shooting at a decent volume. So Iowa's a much better 3-point shooting team than Gonzaga. But even though like Gonzaga does have some weapons, but where Gonzaga's going to kill you is they've got literally probably 5 guys that could go for 30 on any given night. Timmy could go for 30. Kispert could go for 30. Ayayi could go for 30. Ayayi is probably the most underrated player in college basketball, if we're going to be honest. Nembhard could get you 30, and Suggs could get you 30. Like literally, I just named 5 guys that could all get you 30 points. I'm not sure Iowa has that. We know Luka Garza could get you 30, and he probably will get you 30. Bohannon has. Wieskamp has. I'm not sure about Frederick. I think Frederick could. He's on the verge. Not sure about Nunji yet. Against lesser competition, sure, but I don't think he's going to do it against Power 5 teams. And I could see any one of those 5 Gonzaga guys doing it against a Power 5 team. And that's just me. If you want to disagree with that, let's talk about it in the comments, okay? Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments, because this is fun. I'm going to go through some stats, some breakdown. I got a ton of stuff written down. Yeah, but like I said, I like Gonzaga in this game. Gonzaga's played a way harder non-conference so far, and it's not even close. Last time I saw the rankings, Gonzaga's only played 3 games. They play Kansas, Auburn, and West Virginia. So I think that they have a top 15 non-conference, or at least a top 20 non-conference, while Iowa's non-conference is down towards like literally ranked in the 200s or high 100s. It's going to come down to defense. Kansas against Gonzaga shot 44%. From the 3-point line. They were 8 of 18. They're 39% on the season, so Kansas shot a higher percentage against Gonzaga than they do on the season, which is a red flag for me. But because even with that, Gonzaga still ran them, they still beat them by 12. It was a really high-scoring game, and that's why I like Gonzaga, because they're so versatile. They can win those high-scoring games. Like, if this game gets to be in the hundreds, I still like Gonzaga just as much as if the game was in the 60s. If the game's in the 60s, I really like Gonzaga. But let's see, West Virginia shot 29% from the 3-point line. They're 34% on the season. Now, part of that could be because the Bankers Life Fieldhouse rims, where they're playing at the neutral site in Indianapolis where the Pacers play. I have not seen harder rims than that in, like, literally my 26 years of watching college basketball. But if they can, drop the percentage playing at a neutral site, the Sanford Pentagon, if they can drop Iowa's 3-point percentage like 5 percentage points, that could be enough to win the game by double digits. Like, seriously, with the volume that Iowa shoots, if they're down 5 percentage points on their 3-point shooting, that's bad news for Iowa. I think Gonzaga has the athletes too. Gonzaga's a long team. So is Iowa. They're a lot bigger than people give them credit for. I think Bohannon's 6'1". I think Frederick is 6'5". Off the top of my head, Wieskamp I think is 6'7", and then Garza is he's 6'11". But Gonzaga's starting 6'10" with Timmy, 6'4" with Suggs, 6'7" with Kispert. Maybe a Player of the Year candidate. Well, he is a Player of the Year candidate. Garza is too. I think Nembhard's 6'5". Nembhard probably is going to come off the bench. And Ayayi I think is also 6'4". So. They're very similar lengthwise if you average that out, and I think that's going to be enough to be able to run guys off the 3-point line. We hadn't really see, at least I'm not sure who guarded Wieskamp off the top of my head in that UNC game, but I think that Kispert is probably going to be that matchup, and I honestly like Kispert in that matchup because he's bigger, stronger, he's a better athlete than Wieskamp is in my mind. Now, Wieskamp is ultra talented, and I think that dude could play in the NBA one day. But I think Kispert he is a sophomore versus senior, and I like the senior here. I think that he can get up into his face. We've seen Wieskamp be able to shoot over a lot of his defenders if they're closing out, even if he's getting the shot off a little bit late. I think Kispert's going to disrupt that. they're going to at least run them off the 3-point line. And I think that gives Gonzaga a really good chance to win this game. We know that Iowa's going to want to shoot a lot of threes. And if, like I said, if they can ding that percentage just a little bit, that's going to be huge for Gonzaga's favor. I think if Gonzaga has a hard time running them off the three, they're still going to have a chance, but they're going to have a hard time taking control of the game. Gonzaga's played great three-point shooting teams before, and I went back and did some research to last year and see who led the nation in three-point shooting percentage. And it was BYU, and they split. BYU actually beat Gonzaga once, and they shot like 40-some% the game that they won, and Gonzaga shot like 20% from three that game. I believe that game was in Provo. I think it might have been like senior night for BYU. I forget exactly, but Gonzaga beat them the other time. So Gonzaga knows how to run teams off the three-point line, but they've also been beat that way. Now, this Iowa team is not as good on the season as that BYU team was. That BYU team shot like 42% from the season. I think Iowa is like close to 36, 37 range right now. And so a little different, but Iowa does shoot it at a super high volume. Gonzaga's going to kill you from the inside, and they're going to run quick hitters to get guys moving downhill. And Gonzaga's got better athletes. I think Suggs is going to be a very hard matchup for anybody. Stopping him going downhill is hard against like really good defensive teams like West Virginia and Kansas. Both those teams are pretty good defensively. Like Ochai Agbaji, best defender in college basketball. I'm not even sure that Iowa has a top 30 defender in college basketball. And we saw, best defensive player in college basketball have issues with Gonzaga players. Like Suggs looked really good that game. Timmy looked really good that game. Kispert played really well that game. Like, same thing against West Virginia, who's a very good defensive team. And so because of that, I think this game is going to be super high scoring. I think Gonzaga's going to win it because I think it's going to come down to Gonzaga's going to get more stops. Gonzaga, I think, is going to run the shooters off the three-point line because Gonzaga's a very good defensive team, but they're also just as good as an offensive team as Iowa. Iowa might be slight better. Ken Pom has them, I think, 1-2. Literally for offense. Gonzaga runs at a faster tempo, so if it turns into a track meet, they can handle it. And then on the defensive end, Gonzaga is far and above the better team defensively. And because of all that, I got Gonzaga in this game. If it goes wrong, I'm not afraid to admit it, though. If Iowa wins, I'm sure that they'll have played very well, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm not going to stand by this whole Iowa's overrated thing. Right now, I do think they are overrated, but like I said to all you guys from TikTok, if it does get to the point where Iowa is clearly the best team, I'm not afraid. I'll go on my TikTok and duet the old video and say, hey, I was completely wrong, guys. I'll even throw on an Iowa shirt and be like, hey, guys, I was completely wrong. Iowa is not overrated. They are legit. But on this Saturday, I got Gonzaga, and I got them by about 5 points. My line would be 5 points. This is not a betting suggestion. I just like to use Vegas lines for reference of how teams are expected to do in certain games. But for my line, mine would be Gonzaga by 5. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Also, thank you for watching. I'd appreciate a like, subscribe. Appreciate all you guys have done for me so far. And let's keep this going.